Stephanie, you know the names of everyone here, right?
Not the guest though.
No, so we'll get to that. So before we get to the guests and the application, we didn't have the minutes because we forgot to print them from last
Yeah.
April. So
They're tabled.
do we want to vote to just table those?
Yeah, I emailed them out the night of the meeting.
Forgot all about it.
Oh, I don't even know if I
Back
can
in
find
April.
them. Right.
Yeah, so. So you probably have a copy of them?
Yes.
All right, so does someone want to just motion that we will,
Make a motion to table the minutes till next time from the meeting of, what was it?
April 8th?
April 8th. We need a second. Say second.
Second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's welcome our two applications who are here tonight. We have two applications for the special town meeting, which is going to happen on October 19th, and I guess that actually just happened last night, although from the Board of Selectmen said they weren't going to do it, though I was given that date a while back, that was going to be the date if they had one. So we'll start with the Evangelical Church of Hubbardston, and are you Mary Bullock?
I am.
Okay.
Are you Sandra?
I am, yes.
Nice to
Nice
meet
to meet you.
What was your name again?
Mary Bellotti, and B as in boy, Allotte.
And you have someone else with you who's gonna talk?
This is
Chris?
Chris
My
Dan.
lovely neighbor, Chris.
No, I'm not going to talk, I'm just here to support Mary. I don't think
She's
so.
part of our church, so.
Yeah.
So, Mary, why don't you talk a little bit about your application?
Well, I don't think it's a big secret that the church needs to be renovated on the outside, that's for sure. We are a very small congregation, and we have been working diligently to upgrade the inside where people need to be comfortable. We put 2 new bathrooms in, we added a wood stove because our heating system is really old. We've done a lot of other work in the kitchen and have done as much as we can there. And our next priority and our main priority has been for a long time the outside of the building, because obviously we want to see it be preserved and taken care of. We want to be good stewards of what God's given us for a building. But we are a very small congregation, so we have saved some money. We were able to put a deposit down on the company that I gave you was Everlast. We liked that company mainly because of their guarantee, also the fact, and you'll notice that it is siding, it's not painting. We went through some of the options. Painting, because the outside is lead paint, which is the reason we haven't done anything with it, because we can't. Unfortunately, we can't just go out there and scrape away and try to paint. We would have done it years ago. The paint is so bad and the boards are so bad that a lot of them would have to be replaced before we could, and it would soak up so much paint, we'd end up having to paint it 3 times before it really took, and it wouldn't eliminate the lead issue. So, again, that was our main reason for going with the siding as opposed to painting again. You can put the siding over the lead paint?
They can,
But the option that we're choosing is to literally get rid of the lead altogether. Pull the old siding off, the clapboards. Part of all of the estimates that we have include the cost of the dumpsters and the permits and getting rid of the old clapboard. And siding with a good quality material that will last 50 years, a minimum of 50 years at least, and look good and not have to be, touched up with paint or anything for a long time, and it will look nice. Everlast is a company that has a resin siding, high resin, quality resin siding that we liked. It was a little lighter. The other 2 estimates that I have are very similar estimates. In that one, they're both from Hardy Siding, which is a cement board siding. It's heavier, it's a heavier material, but it's a good quality as well. So their estimates are very close to what we have with Everlast, and I can give you those. I think you have one for everybody there for the Everlast, and I sent you 10 copies. And these are the estimates for the other two Hardy sidings, two different companies that gave us gave us quotes. I did have some issues trying to get quotes, especially we started looking for them last summer, but because of COVID, it seemed like I called people, they said, yeah, we'll come, and then they never showed up. Or they would cancel and not come. So finally, we're able to get a couple of companies. So the three companies for the estimates that you need. And we actually, because of the issues with construction, we did put a deposit down for the Everlast siding, mainly because the cost of it, we got their estimates like back in February, and from the time February to now came, the cost went up like $20,000 because of material. And there was no guarantee that it wasn't going to go even more depending on when they would start the project. So we did put over a 10% deposit, which was over $15,000 down to that particular company, so that they could hold the price till January for us.
January of this year?
January coming up.
Okay.
That's gonna be-
Right. So that's pretty much where we're at. I appreciate that, you are willing to take a look at it and see if it's something that, because it's a historical town building, we will be coming up on the 200th anniversary in 2027, which is not that far away. So our goal was like, okay, if we can start this now, maybe in the next 6 years we'll get something accomplished, or at least try to get it accomplished. Even if we have to do one side at a time, we're gonna try to work at it, but we know that it would be nice to have it look nice in the center
With
of
the new
town.
road
and-
coming through town, it would
Yeah,
be such a
yeah.
eyesore.
And we would love to do it, believe me. If we could do it all ourselves, we would do it.
So I have a couple questions on someone else wants to.
I got a couple questions too, but you begin.
Okay, so one of my questions was, so it's $155,000, you're asking for $100,000. You've put 15 down, right? So that leaves a balance of 40,000.
Correct.
Do you have the funds to complete the project?
The company is willing to finance for us, so.
The 40,000?
Right.
Okay, because we don't want to fund a project that's not going to get completed,
Right.
so that's why
Absolutely.
I had that
Yeah.
question. You did get at least one other estimate, or at least
Yep.
attempted to?
This one is Neshoba Valley Construction. Now, the difference on these is, on this one, we dropped it down. It was 188,000, but we opted not to do the soffits, which around the top, because those, we're gonna negotiate with them and actually probably do them in wood. That's where all the crown molding is. And it's very expensive to do that in PVC because it's a lot of work. But if we can replace it in wood and paint it, that would be the only painted one that would be done. But at least then we could do them and get the correct look to it. So that is one difference between that estimate and these, because they've put the soffit in.
Sure.
So that one would have been about 188,000 with the soffits. We opted to not do that right at the moment with this one so that we could kind of lower the price a little bit. This one's 191,000.
We just need to see that you made an effort to
Oh, yeah.
get other estimates for comparison.
And this one is 178,000. That one is Eagle Construction from Worcester. And then I had some emails from another company that I've been trying to get hold of, but just, we did make some efforts to
Yeah,
try.
no.
It's not that easy because a lot of the companies do homes and small businesses, but they consider this a commercial building, and so it's a huge project. It's over 65,000 square feet, so it's really big. They have to come in with special equipment and all this stuff. to get up into those places, but.
I have another question, but I'll let you go first now.
I was just
Talk
gonna
about
ask,
it.
just a couple of questions. One is you say this says 7-inch board, that's what's on there now?
Correct.
So you're trying to
No.
get the look?
There is a difference. It would be, the 4-inch board, which is on there now, is an option.
Yeah.
But it's an additional $20,000 approximately.
Okay.
So this estimate is for the 7-inch
And
board.
that's the width,
It's a little wider, yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
It's almost double then,
Yeah.
though, so it will look a little
A
different.
little different,
Yeah.
yeah. It
But it's
wouldn't
not
be the same.
unusual for the churches to have wider siding, is it?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
There's a couple of places, I'm trying to think, the one in Shrewsbury was done with Everlast. And they have the 4-inch, but I think, I'm not sure in the center of Holden, one of the buildings has the smaller, and one of the buildings I think has the wider. I'd have to look again, just to kind of get an idea for it. But it was an additional like $20,000 to go with a 4-inch. So that's why we got
Okay.
the estimate for the,
So the soffits they're actually replacing, but they're doing it with the crown.
with wood so that
Recutting.
we can keep the crown molding on it.
Okay.
And more in keeping with the, what it looks like now. To do it in PVC, it was an additional like $30,000. But we could do it in wood and paint it for a hugely
And then,
big difference.
two other questions, one of which is the foundation in good condition?
As far as I know, we,
Fair condition even, but just not
Yeah.
hollow?
we're going to, one of the things we looked into and haven't connected with them yet, this company Everlast, I did ask them if they had a structural engineer that could come and look at the building and make sure that our foundation is good before we go ahead and side it, because obviously we don't want to just put something over, something that isn't correct. So they said they would connect me up with a structural engineer, or if you know anybody that's a structural engineer that could come and take a look at it, we would appreciate it.
I could
Yeah.
ask our,
Yeah.
I could ask Bill Murray, he's our advisor with the planning board.
Mm.
It would be good to know that. I just know that we, the old church in Paxton, the foundation wall was caving in, and so we had to fix that first, and it was
Right.
also
Right,
just a
no,
horrible.
I understand that, the sills are important, and I'm not really sure, it's hard to tell, I can't tell the difference on what's,
I don't want to
Yeah.
derail the project in any way. It would just be a baseline, that it's,
yeah.
and then the other question is, so you say they'll hold this price through, January. Will they work, do they work through the winter?
They would start in January if it was possible, yeah.
They would, okay.
Mhm.
I know with paint you
Yeah.
can't do that, but maybe with siding you can.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's what I wanted to ask.
I've got a few.
Mhm.
First of all, I'll preface it with, I'm sure everybody in this room and most people in town would be thrilled to see this happen, because the church with the purple doors is,
I know.
and it's one of our 4 architectural gems, the library, the other church, Williamsville, and
Yeah.
the church on the corner. And for just people's interest, at some point, they turned the church, did you know that? It was
Yes,
originally
yes, yeah.
facing Williamsville Road, and then they turned it so that it faces.
If you read
And
that,
look at us,
They
I know,
built
because
the
this was the
foundation.
original.
Yeah, they
built the
raised
foundation
it,
and they
just
raised
like the
Turned it.
fellowship hall
Yeah,
below.
yeah.
I mean, it's
It is
Hubbardston.
fascinating, I don't know
Yeah.
how they did it then.
Yeah, way back then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But anyway, so I have 4 things I'm curious about. Ownership, and also that deed restriction that's mentioned in the 218 report. The roof, kind of thinking about the foundation, because if the roof's not in good shape and you do all the work,
What year was the roof done, Chris, do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. I'm gonna say it's at
Maybe
least
10
10 years.
about 10, 12 years
Yeah,
ago.
12 years.
Really, and then the steeple too, moved that.
Well, that is included in this,
That would be
the bell
exciting.
tower, yeah.
Is there a bell in there?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
you hear us ringing
Yeah.
And then this kind of goes back to my original question about ownership. If CPA was able to invest into it, how do we know that it will stay church?
The original deed for the church, which we actually have the original. Chris has it in our safe in her house.
Because we looked
Yeah.
online, and was very confusing.
Oh,
as
it's
a
hard to
split.
read,
Yeah.
but I looked at it and we kept it, we have it in her safe in her
So-
house. And it actually says in the deed that it will always stay a place of worship. If it doesn't stay a place of worship, then it would have to go back to the heirs of whoever donated it to the
Which is.
Seriously, that's what it says. So it's always going to be a church and it's always going to be a place where we worship the Lord, so.
So the congregation owns the church then?
Yeah, it's under the Evangelical Congregation, Evangelical Church of Hubbardston.
It's not Dayspring.
Okay, I remember that was attached to it for a while.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
another pastor some years ago.
So I guess those are all kind of answered. So the future, even if, and I know congregations sort of struggle, like in Boston, churches are condos, that's a problem with our society, but that's another conversation.
I know.
So,
I understand.
how big is the conversation? I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but just for the future.
Right now, we're about a dozen, 12, 15, depending.
Small but mighty, I mean, you're obviously.
Small, but,
yeah.
you know, we've been plugging away.
Yep.
You know, we've seen us out there doing the yard sales, which is how we came up with our $15,000. You know, a couple of years worth of yard sales, and we slowly
did
put
it,
it away,
though.
we put it
You
away. We
accomplished
did
it.
flowers, we did bake, you know, we did whatever. You know, it was slow going because we have to maintain the building and insure it and everything, so, and then doing the work inside. So for a small congregation, they have really stepped up to the
We
plate.
had 50 people the other day for the ordination of the two ministers.
Yeah.
Oh, really? At that
At
church?
that church, yes.
Oh, that's
A man
pretty
who
cool.
lives there and Mary Bellotti.
Is it a family that lives there or just
It's
a caretaker?
A man that lives there, yeah.
So that is kind of a question I have, because
Yeah.
you talk about, because I've heard this too, that it's being used as a residence, is how
He's a pastor and he lives there, yes, he
He's
does.
the pastor of the church?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, he and I co-pastor together,
Okay.
But he's the only resident there?
yes. Yeah.
That's the house that's next to it, behind it?
No, that's
Or
in
part
the
of
church itself.
In the church itself.
I think the rear part toward the, you know.
Okay.
There are bedrooms and bathroom in there, so.
Okay.
He has a business, so that's why you see the trucks.
Yeah, he
there,
works
too.
full-time, he has his own business and, yeah, keeps busy. But we hope that we'll be able to get out even more into the community as much as we can. We do the fairs every year, we've been doing that for a few years now. And we keep in touch with the senior center, of course, and they've been really wonderful to work with, so, yeah.
Any other questions? So just to tell you, number one, because this project this is the third time it's come before the town. So obviously it's already met the historical, you know, criteria and what was the other thing that we had asked about? Oh, the deed, you know, all those questions you had asked, Susan. So those all had to be cleared before it even went forward before, to be on the town warrant. The thing that I think we need to discuss is I don't feel we can give you an answer tonight unless other people disagree. In 2018, when it get turned down by the town, but the Unitarian roof got approved, the town could not get bonding for that money. And what happens is apparently CPA has a lot of lawsuits going on right now because people are filing saying can't be funding churches. There's a difference between church and state, and there's lawsuits going on. So what we have to discuss is an amount this large. If we can't get the bonding and it passes through the town, we have to decide as a committee, do we have the funds to shell out $100,000 out of our coffers? We normally don't do that. Normally, $100,000 is gonna be bonded over 5 years through the town. We make the $20,000 payment for 5 years. So I think that's gonna be the biggest stepping stone, because I think the project itself is in the project, but we as a committee have to decide, can we fund this and can we fund this in full? Now, if the town can't get the bond and the town approves to do the project right now, okay?
Sure.
So, because we still are paying on the library roof, the playground hasn't even started to be paid for yet, because that just got approved. So we have two big projects right now ahead of yours. So I think it might come down to a budget issue for us to say whether we can put this before the town at this time. Because that is one of our criteria too, that we have to decide, can we afford this project right at this time?
Sure, that's quite understandable.
So from your perspective, it would have to be financed then?
Well, that's what we're gonna discuss.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting to hear back from Sandy and from Dave. I wrote to them last week and said, we ran into this project, this problem back in 2018, where we couldn't get funding for a church project because no one would
Wanted to
provide
do it.
the money.
Nobody would pick it
No one
up.
would provide the money to the town. So, what we ended up doing is, on the roof project for the Unitarian Church, is they actually took out a loan, started paying on it, they came back to us, we paid what was left on the loan, and it was a much smaller amount, so we were able to pay that in full right out of the CPA funds. With your project, we would have to put $100,000 out of CPA funds if we can't get funding, if the town can't get a bond
Right.
to fund the project over like 3 to 5 years.
Sure.
So
Understandable.
that's what we're gonna.
I had no idea what kind of budgets you guys work with or anything either, so.
Well, we're gonna talk about that
Yeah.
afterwards, see where the money is. We have to talk about the two projects that have already been approved before this project. And then we will let you know in writing, we'll send you an email or a letter letting you know what we've decided. I'm gonna say, just to play the devil's advocate, if we couldn't do it now, we would probably say, try to bring this back again
In June,
next year.
right.
Because maybe maybe the library roof would be paid off by then, and we could maybe take on, another payment plan of 3 to 5 years. But right now, we do have the library roof still going on, and we have the playground that we haven't even started making payments on. So,
Sure.
but that is something that we would discuss once we discuss the budget.
So council hasn't been
They
contacted
haven't
at all?
got, no, that
But
David,
that's what he was gonna do?
that's what David was supposed to do. David
Because-
and Sandy.
Just so it's
we
not
took that.
us making this decision, but on the coalition website, because of these lawsuits in the past, it says, it's hard to imagine a CPA community stepping through, there's a 3-part test. They've made it very difficult on applications from religious institutions without a full review by legal counsel. And maybe it would be fine. I think, I am tired of I understand we need guidelines, but it's the community preservation, and that is preserving our community. It happens to be a church building, but you're not putting up a new cross.
Right.
If you were putting up a new cross or some religious symbol or redoing stained glass windows that have religious, I could see something making a stink. But it's the building itself. It will fall apart if it's not taken care of. Yes.
What would be the difference between the two loans we've already made in the town to the Unitarian Church? Obviously, that had to be church and state for both of those as well.
Well, that's,
Why would
that's
this,
what we were saying, they didn't
Yeah.
fund it. We
They
couldn't
would-
get money
see,
for
the
it.
they
first
needed-
one we did?
The first one we did, that's right. The
That was
second,
$100,000 we did. on the
Really?
it
first
was
one.
like 75, yeah, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But since then, all these lawsuits have come forward.
Right.
And so in 2018, they could not get the money, and it was only like $45,000 or 50, something, I don't remember what the amount was.
75.
For the roof? No, I'm talking about for the roof, the Unitarian roof. So that's what happened. So in between, when we first did the Unitarian Church 10, 12 years ago, and the roof coming up to be done 2018, that it passed at town meeting, the town couldn't get the funding for it. So,
Because nobody would pick up the bond.
because no one would pick up the bond.
So
And those
cash,
suits take a time to go through everything, I'm sure, before you kind of get some kind of final answer from them. and-
Yeah, so Dave, the acting county administrator, Sandy, the treasurer, I wrote to them last week, and they're supposed to be talking to council, they're supposed to get back to us whether or not they feel a project like this could get bonded. And we would have to decide as a committee, if it passes and it doesn't get bonded, do we have the money to pay $100,000 out, all at once out of the coffers? I mean, it's really what we're looking
is
at.
there one more consideration? Maybe I don't quite understand the guidelines. It's a historic building, no question, right? But when you restore it, can you put siding and not wood? Because it's not,
Yes.
you can, there's no problem there.
There's been many we did look into it before we went this route to find out, because that was our question too. And a number of buildings in Massachusetts now historically are being sided.
It's just very practical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
it's
the
also
siding
like
has
tape.
changed, it's not vinyl. You know, it's not like the old vinyl siding that you used to see that was shiny and.
It was
you know.
partly two composite things.
This looks a lot like wood. I left a sample of it actually at the Everlast,
At the town office?
with the paperwork, when I gave the paperwork originally.
Oh, maybe
Lori's
Laura,
office.
yeah.
She might have it, yeah.
I can see it, it's good, it's thick.
Oh, you
It's
saw
more like
it?
a clap-
That's right, Al, so
Yeah,
I've
it looks
done.
more like a clapboard than it does siding. It's, you know, nice and heavy and has a nice grain to it. I had another question for Mary. Does your church, is it used by other groups, for example, like AA or?
The only other group that we, right now, have, that we help out is the Friends of Hubbardston Senior Center.
Because I think, you know, as we're trying to make that case, you ought to include that.
It would be
The
another
Friends-
place. for
The Friends of
people to meet.
Hubbardston Senior Center pay us rent monthly, and we help them out with any storage issues that they might have. And they're coming up with a shoe drive soon, so we're gonna be the main
The
source.
storage?
We're gonna be the main storage center for lots and lots of shoes. So, yeah.
And any of those sort of non-religious activities that go on there, I think bolster your case. You know, our church in Paxton has like a daycare in it, which obviously the lead paint you're not gonna do. But also AA and I don't know, a whole bunch of other groups.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, in terms of siding versus painting, I used to rehab houses for 5 years. And once a building's wood peels and moisture gets into the boards, painting is just a temporary solution. It's good for, at best, 4 or 5 years. And I
it's
would point
expensive.
down to our cemetery fencing there, which we have painted a lot of times. And that was last painted about 4 years ago, and if you look at it today, it's not holding paint, and it's not gonna hold paint. The same holds true to that church. So the siding is a much better opportunity
Yeah.
than that. My other thought was, does this have to come totally from the historic portion, or can we take it out of the general fund as well as the historic portion of the CPA?
Well, we can decide how CPA wants to fund it. We'll make those decisions. But it has to fall under a category, like, so if they're coming as it being a historic building. But we decide how the funding is gonna be, you know, we can use the general funds as well. I thought I had one more question, but I don't remember. Oh, so if this does pass here, obviously, if we decide that we can fund it and we move it forward to the town, then we cannot speak on the application's behalf or the church's behalf at town meeting. So that all falls on you and
Sure.
your congregation to talk about it and what have you to represent it. I mean, we would put it on the warrant. And I think, I don't know if we want to vote on this. Do we want to vote that we feel the application meets the criteria, but we don't know if we can fund it? Or do we want to vote on everything after we look at all of our budgeting? 'Cause, I mean, I can say the application is approved. I mean, you've been through this process before. I mean, this is your third time. It's really going to come down to the funding of it.
And so we were surprised actually that it was an October meeting. For some reason I kept thinking it was maybe December, but it's actually next June is really the
It's
next
the
one.
annual town
So,
meeting, yeah.
yeah.
But you're smart to bring it now because it's a town meeting, so they can vote on it.
On the other hand, if we waited in one more cycle, the buckets would be refurbished. Because we are paying off, as she mentioned, 2 rather large debts. And we just paid 164 in the most recent warrants. And so our buckets are a little bit lower than they usually are.
Yeah,
but-
yeah,
And we
Yeah.
understand, because we know that it's a large amount to even.
Yeah, but
ask
they're getting
for.
replenished, that's the
Yes.
beauty of this. So it's, you know, we can look down the road and we have some pretty good estimates.
So thank the housing market for that.
Yeah,
What's the match rate now by the state?
32.3.
Or was it 30, or something like that?
32.3, that will be
So we
on,
put in about $65,000 to $70,000 a year.
1.5%, yeah.
Yeah, 1.5%.
right. It
And then they
was,
only match
74 back in March, she said collected
74.
revenues. Yeah, so basically between the interest and the match from last year, because it's a year behind, it was basically almost $100,000. So, yeah, but it goes fast when you have it, because we're paying off so many things. But it also bodes well for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, but, yeah.
But the good thing about going now is her price is probably gonna be.
Oh,
even
that's
bigger.
right,
Yeah,
because
spring.
you're held to that.
So
Yeah.
it could go up.
Just one last thing before we close up shop.
Sure.
And as I said, I'm sure we all want to get this done, and the money is the bottom line, have you explored, I know you're on Facebook, GoFundMe, I saw that at the veterinarians, I thought, oh yeah, they're trying, you know, whatever. But is there some other, like the downtown is being refurbished, could that be a little slice of that, even 10? Do you know what I mean? So we'd only have to come up with 90, or if somebody, I don't know. I mean, just some other way to, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I don't mean to be a Debbie
No.
Downer.
Sure.
But money is always the thing.
We did try the GoFundMe, we can certainly bring it back up, weren't very successful with it, but
there may be,
once, you know, we get out there and try to get on
yeah.
yeah. But we also praying, so.
Well, that's a good thing to do too. But sometimes God says, wait a little while, I don't know. But he does listen. Shoot, 3 times.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's the next thing. We could say, oh, terrific, do it. And the town could say, no, for some. But I've always wondered about that. It seemed not
Where
the same.
else would money come from other than the CPA?
For, like the downtown rebeautification? What's that? You know,
I thought that was all sidewalks and
Yeah.
landscaping and all that.
right, so
but-
there's a grant for that from somewhere.
I don't know, I know the Unitarian Church, when they came, they were able to get a grant through the Historical Society, not the Historical Society here, but.
Mass
the-
Historic or
Yeah, they got like $40,000.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And is the church on the, I think it was considered historical from our town, but is it on the registry? Historical
It's not on
registry?
national, I know. My understanding is that I think it is on the Mass, but I'm not sure.
Because I do
I know
know,
it's the
they did a
town.
lot
I
of
think
work
it
to
is.
get that, yeah.
I saw that in the master plan, I'm quite sure it is.
This
On
one,
the-
this
on the
church?
state, yeah.
On the state plan.
The state plan, I'm pretty sure, I'll check it, but, and I'll answer it for you, but I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, there's a lot of things on that list, you'd be surprised in town. There's like 20 buildings that are, on, you know, houses.
Wow.
Like the parsonage down the way.
Yeah,
where
just
Susan
houses
Raines
that date from, yeah.
Yeah.
I should give you that list because we should all have it. It's
Yeah.
on this committee, right? I'll print it for you.
I don't know if this would be helpful or not, but the town is getting a large sum of money for COVID relief. And I think we just received $700,000.
Right,
which
that
is
sounds
about-
right.
Which
So
is
it's
about
working.
half of the payment that.
1.4 mil, yeah.
Yeah, 1.4. I have no background or information as to whether anything like this would qualify, but I would suggest to the church that you talk with the town administrator and see if there's any possible way that any funding could be received by the church through that. Because that's a large amount of money, and where I know that Dave's looking for places where
I don't know how the guidelines are. on
I heard
that.
they were, I heard from the treasurer they're very strict and you can only use them for specific things. Because she has to keep really strict.
Right.
I would think so.
But we could
If they
try.
allow
You
it.
could try.
To just investigate other options because, yeah, it would be really wonderful to get it done. So,
Well, we thank you very much.
well, thank you for all your efforts in that. It's,
Yeah.
So do
it'll be
we
nice.
want to vote whether the application itself qualifies, or, and then vote separately whether we feel we can, afford the budget once we hear back from the town administrator or town council, or do we want to wait and meet and make that decision all at once?
Well, you're sending stuff to town council anyway, right?
I've already requested that they reach out and ask them the guidance on that.
Also, I think we should ask them, can we approve it with contingent upon obtaining bonding,
That's a good question.
you know?
Or it goes back to cash. You know, I mean, because,
Yeah, but
Just-
that's where we're short on cash.
Yeah.
oh,
We
I
could say,
know.
okay, we'll vote on it this fall contingent upon bonding,
I'm
being
getting
able to
bonded.
obtain bonding.
And
And then
that's
if we
what-
don't obtain bonding, then she can bring it back in the spring
Yeah.
when we have more cash.
Hmm.
I mean, it would be one way to do it.
Sure.
But it's passed before, because it's been on, passed town council before, it's been voted on twice, right?
Yes,
Nobody said you can't do it because it's a church, it was just the bonding people, right?
correct, but they wouldn't bond the roof for the Unitarian Church. That did pass the same time this didn't pass, because it was a church property and all the lawsuits that are going on. So I think the whole issue is whether they're gonna be able to get bonding, because it's a historical building, but it's a church, and
And
it's
town
kind of a
council,
hot potato
Yeah.
issue.
Because
They
the,
could change,
Excuse me?
they could decide, okay, now we can.
Well, I think town council's gonna let us know whether they're still not offering bonding to church projects.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
was, so they might change their minds and offer.
They may have changed their mind since 2018 when they tried to get it for the Unitarian Church.
who bonds these?
Banks.
the Newburyport
Yeah.
Bank did the
Yes, I was gonna
playground.
say.
Yeah,
Because I sent the latest note, which by the way, the interest rate originally
Was it
was 2.5 and it went to 2.1.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound, we say
Yeah, that's great.
$600. So,
But-
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
I'm
saying.
just wondering, it seems like you would be able to find somebody that would bond it, unless the CPA is saying, we don't. I mean, was it internal decision that they couldn't bond?
No, they couldn't get
They
anyone
just sent it
bond
out to everybody.
So that's why they put it back to us and said, yeah, and it was kind of after the fact, they'd already started the project and, yeah.
Well, that was one thing I
So
wondered
we don't
about.
want to get into that.
I'm glad that you put the money down and to have your place in line and have the price staying, but I hope people would look at that and think it's presumptuous, because that's not it. It was just a
No, but we just needed to
practical
hold on
thing.
to them, right?
Yeah, so at
And
some
it's
point.
contingent on funding, because
Yeah,
right.
they would get a deposit back,
Right.
obviously, and if they're not funded. They were
We
aware
have
of
to put
that.
our thinking caps on and see.
It's a beautiful building, and it
It
would
is,
really
yeah.
make this town a lot more attractive.
And if you're going north or south, there it is.
Yeah, it is, and it would really beautify, and we're gonna redo the whole town center
Right.
in the next
What a
year.
good point, yes, of
So-
course.
It would be nice to see it,
The contrast would even be like, really?
yeah, it would really be a great thing to be able to see.
And there are
the
people out
church
there
back
who just
where it
sit down and
used to
write a check, which is lovely, but we just need to find them.
be. And I think too, that having the church be in great shape would allow them to get more for their congregation and more people coming. I used to go to that church.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've met so many people that have, at one point in time, gone to the church. So we want it to be a vibrant piece of the community, that's for sure. So wish we could just do it.
Mary,
We would.
if this does go on the warrant, we do vote, you ought to do, I think, some publicity. You ought to put a sign up front, you ought to have an open house, you ought
Oh,
to
open
really
house, yeah.
promote it.
We could do that.
And you can get, we have websites now for the town, events going on. I think you could get people to come and,
Yeah. We've had so many people that have stopped in overtime at the yard sales or popped into church and said hello, whatever, that have all, expressed a desire to see it, get fixed up. And we understand that, believe me, we want to see it done too, with whatever we can do to do it.
get this.
And so you're looking at this and is very much appreciated.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Thank you so much again.
Thanks for coming, it's great.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see
So
you.
you used to go to that church? You went to that church, you said?
I've attended yes, but I did way back when. It was a congregational church. for,
yeah, we went in
Uh,
the 60s.
quite a number
Back
of
when my kids were baptized.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh yeah. It was quite a big church, standing room only.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Ray Sawyer was saying the kids would be at church and his dad was supposed to pick them up and he didn't inevitably forget and the kids had to walk home up the hill.
All right, well, Ed, why don't we talk about your project?
Okay. My name is Ed Blanchard and I'm on the Vietnam Memorial Committee with 7 other people. We had given you our project, and I'm going to give you a copy of this because they're an update to the original project, because when we put things out to bid, our original estimates were very conservative compared to what we got back for quotation. The monument is going to be dedicated on Memorial Day next year. And we're trying to make the monument look like the Washington DC monument. And that DC monument is all black granite with carved names. We've done a great job. Sarah Wyman, who's on the committee and is our veterans agent over in Westminster, has done a great job trying to verify all of the names who would go on the monument. And we started off and we had about 85 names. And then we looked at what the time period was for the Vietnam War, and it's like 1955 to 1975. And what we decided to do to honor these people, this has been 50 years since the war, and I was involved back at that time, and it was not a great war, and there were a lot of protests and a lot of people who were very much against the Vietnam War. And yet we lost 58,000 people, Americans, in that war. And we've never, Hubbardston has never said, how can we thank these people? And now Ryan, our town administrator, formed this committee, and it's a very strong committee that's really committed to making sure that we welcome home 197 names, which will go on the monument. And we may come up with a few more before we're finally done. But so part of the reason of the cost going up so much was instead of having to engrave 85 names,
It's double.
we're over double that plus some. Plus, the being able to get black granite has not been easy. Black granite is basically quarried in China and also India. The black granite in India is a lot more high quality than in China. And so therefore, we figured this was a big enough project that we should put it out to as many people as we could that we know would do a good job for us. And the last page here is that these are the vendors that we sent out to in order to get quotes. And under the quote given dollar amount, these are the dollar amounts that we've received. And down the bottom, I averaged all of the quotes as 50,000. And our original estimate, we thought with the monument and plus, this is not just the monument we're looking at in terms of this project. Our project is to restore all of the existing monuments, which there are 4. And we want to make sure that those are as good as we can get them to. So it's really going to be a beautification of the town common. We have a Civil War memorial over there that has an eagle on the top, and the eagle is not in good shape. And it's broken and cracked, and we'd like to get that repaired. We're going to make sure that all of the mold and that is off all of the other monuments. So what we feel when we finish with this project is we're going to restore all of the monuments that exist there, which have not been done for as long as I can remember. I've been here since 1970. And we're going to beautify it further with this new monument for the Vietnam veterans. And so this is not going to be funded just by the CPA. We're going to go out and do a lot of fundraising. We already have started with the fundraising, and I think we're at about, we've raised about $17,000 already. And that's the next phase of what the committee is going to do. Right now, because of the lead time of being able to get this type of granite and get it done, we've got to start and get it underway. So what we're asking from the CPA committee is that if you could find $30,000 on our behalf, we would raise $30,000 from public monies. The $60,000 project is broken down as $50,000 for the monument, $5,000 for the restoration of the monuments that we have, and another $5,000 for setting the monument in place. We need to bring in a crane, and we'll have a base to the, did I give you pictures of the monument?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying, wow.
Yeah.
And the eagle and
Yeah.
the cannons and.
Yeah, those are all the things we're gonna work on. This has changed. We have so many names now, we are not gonna be able to do the picture of the 3 Vietnam soldiers. And it's basically the front and back are gonna be all names,
Names.
which,
Maybe that would make it a little cheaper, maybe. For, no.
well,
No,
the
no, not
engraving,
really. Okay.
yeah, the other would have to be etched. And I don't know what the difference in that would be, but.
Well, it looks like it's not an option now anyway, right?
No, it's out, you know. And my background is doing some granite work at Livingstone Foundation over in Leominster. So I'm pretty familiar with what we need to do to get this project completed. And we feel very comfortable with the new, that we have submitted to you, that we can get this done with $30,000 participating from public and from the CPA.
So this-
Here,
So you want to change your application to $30,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just confirm
which
that.
is approximately.
that being said, there are some quotes on here that are lower. There's one from China, that would be $20,000.
Well, just because you have a low quote doesn't mean you have to go with it.
Exactly, exactly.
And
We're
who
gonna,
knows how long it would ever take to even get here.
we're gonna make sure that who we go with for a vendor is gonna be able to deliver us a quality monument. But why I'm saying that is, depending upon which vendor we go with, we might not spend $60,000. So what we will do is we will be able to do, we think we'll be able to do our $30,000. So if the project becomes $45,000, we would return $15,000 to the CPA. Whatever we do, and we've just started fundraising, we've got $17,000 already. We're gonna do a fundraiser that's gonna be sponsor a vet. And we're gonna come up with, for each name and what the total would cost. Like, it would be like, all right, if it was a $60,000 project, we had 200 names, we'd be $300. So you could sponsor a vet for $300.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Huh?
For the name, you mean?
For the name.
naming of
Yeah.
the name?
Yeah.
You know, not an individual name, but, I mean,
Yeah.
we're not gonna, you know, I think we'll get a lot of people whose names are gonna go on there that would probably support the project. I can't imagine that this town, at town meeting,
Turn that down.
would,
Yeah.
would turn down this project.
So are you comfortable with the $60,000 and the reason total, ask for 30?
Yes.
The reason I say this is because at town meeting, you can change the article down, you cannot change the article up.
Right.
So it's 60, you're comfortable with that amount then?
That would be the
Very
total
good.
project, and we'd be looking 30 from you.
Yeah.
And we will probably know by town meeting, who the vendor is, what we're gonna spend, and how much we've raised. And if we can come to town meeting, we could come to town meeting and say, we're gonna be okay, we don't need it. We could come to town meeting and say, of the 30 we're asking for, we reassessed it, and where we are now with our fundraising, we only need 15.
Absolutely.
And we will, it says on the end of this, it says, any grant money is not used if public donations exceed the 30,000 would be returned to the town CPA account. A full accounting will be provided by the Hubbardston Vietnam Memorial Committee to the CPA and will be public record of all of the monies that we've received. And, you know, all of the monies received will go to the project.
Which of these do you feel is the better one? I know one of the veterans doesn't like the China idea.
I don't either, but.
Well,
I like going local.
Yeah.
I can say this to you, from people that I've worked with in this. Most of these that are American quotes, the work will be done in China or India.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, they're middle,
You're the middleman.
they're the middleman.
Okay, yeah.
Even Zoll and Clinton? Because my sister works with the Historical Society over there and they do their work there. Now, maybe they get their materials.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Oh, just-
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
But maybe
And-
they don't, because I know she got a big chunk, well, it was granite up in New Hampshire for a special Revolutionary War thing.
Yeah. And Barry, Vermont is one of the prime sources of gray granite in the
But
area.
black is the thing, it's hard to find, black granite.
The black granite will probably come from India or China. And I've already talked with the people who are quoting from China that I don't want Chinese black granite because it's not as high quality as India. Black granite.
But India is a good option, is what you're saying.
India's a good option. And what the Chinese company will do is they will get it, they will buy it from India. And there's one company here that has not quoted that I found in India,
Oh, yeah.
so that we could perhaps deal direct with them.
With them, sure.
Wow.
You know, my background is finance, and I would like to see us do this project, and quality comes first,
Yes.
and that, and I would, you know, the decision with who we go with will be made by the 8 people in the committee. But we need to make sure, and I've spent a tremendous amount of time with all of these vendors as to where they would get the materials, how they would do it. There's a possibility we could break up the project and get the monument made in overseas and bring it in and have it engraved here. So we could split it up. There's a monument, it's a big black monument, but it sits on a granite base. The granite base we can get easily here in the United States. So we could split the project up and get the granite base here and do the black granite monument.
But you have a timeline for next,
Next Memorial Day,
Yeah.
it will be in
what's
place.
your goal?
It will be in place, I can assure
Okay,
you.
yeah, I'm thinking it will be.
This is a committee that is not gonna fail.
Yeah, can I ask a couple questions? How big is this? Maybe it's in here.
It is, but is it easy for me to?
The size?
It is 9.5 feet wide
Uh-huh,
by 5 feet tall,
yeah.
6 feet. 60 inches, 5 feet tall,
Uh-huh.
and it's 12 inches thick. It'll be highly polished black granite,
Yeah.
and once you have the black granite, if you engrave in it, it changes the color, so that it'd be easy to read the names. There's a possibility we might put white lithium paint on so they would stand out more. Let's see if I can get you a
They're
picture.
gonna put a star next to the names of the veterans who served in country, and then the other veterans are just their
Yeah.
name will be
We can
there.
pass that around. This is one at Livingstone that was done, and it's not totally black granite, but I should have brought the sample that I have.
You said it was gonna be on a piece of granite,
It's
does that
beautiful.
get it to 5 feet, or does that put it?
5 feet
on?
high, 9.5 feet wide,
Does that include?
names
the-
on the front and the back.
But should that include the piece of granite sitting on the total
No.
height?
So
That's
it
a-
includes the taller.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's a 12 inches thick base on the bottom, and it'll have a 6-inch border all the way around. Did we lose it?
Yeah, with black.
Then Ed,
You see how black that granite is?
Yeah, wow.
High
I still see the
quality.
white backing.
Also, so the names go on, and then there is like a military unit or anything after, or just the names?
No, what we decided to do,
I saw.
because
Or a year, or any, is it just?
what we decided to do is that there's a lot of Vietnam, it's a Vietnam era monument,
Right,
but there are about half of the names are people who actually served in Vietnam. And we're gonna put a star
okay.
next to those, and then on the monument, the star says, served in country. So those that have served in Vietnam, because there are a lot of support people over here and that, but we're gonna put a star on those who actually served in the country.
And do we have any of those 197 died in combat there? And do they get a death?
I don't think that Sarah has a number on those who have died.
I mean, in the combat? You don't know? No.
We don't know those that died in combat, no. I mean, Sarah might be able to, I don't know whether we'd be able to get all of them that have died in combat versus that died afterwards, because there were a lot of them that
I would
came
just think
back
if there were,
with Agent Orange and other things. But I'm not sure we have those statistics.
the one in Washington is done by date they died, I think, order in which they died or something. It's a
Yeah,
different,
they're
the
in
most
the,
memorials.
these are gonna be in alphabetical order.
Okay,
And we're gonna leave space at the end so that if there's a few people that come in after the fact and say, oh, how about me, why didn't you put me on? I mean,
It could
we
be-
mailed out 290 mailings to all veterans that were on our census to make sure that they were aware of what we were doing. So we've gone to quite extensive to make sure we can get as many as we get. I think the deadline was July 31 for, saying that that you qualify, and then we would check it out and make sure.
People you wrote to in town, I mean, what about people who may have moved out of town? Those were people you were able to contact too?
Yeah, they were, well, those are probably most of the ones that were in town. There are people who served and were living in Hubbardston at the time and then moved
Did they
out of
serve,
town. They
yeah.
qualify as well.
But I'm saying, were you able to track them down?
They've done quite a bit of research on, because she got all of the military records from the area that go way back. So, yeah, I mean, our goal is to not leave anyone off.
Yeah.
But if there's someone that comes afterwards, we're gonna have space on the monument so that we can add those names. It just may not be in alphabetical order.
Sure.
So in some cases, even contacted by families if the vet's been deceased?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, does anyone have any more questions? Does someone want to make a motion that this CPA application meets the qualifications for CPA and we should move it on to the town meeting, town warrant? Or I'm sorry, make it an article for the town meeting?
Yeah, I'll make the motion, if it meets the criteria.
Maybe we could just hold on 1 minute. At some point, I think, did you tell me about this little sheet that has the buckets, open space, historic, recreation, housing? And then it has key words
Yeah.
will dovetail with what the thing is. And as I'm for the thing, I'm for the product, obviously. I was in high school at the time, I remember singing a piece on it at the Christmas concert, you know. So this, yeah. But anyway, so under historic, yes, you can acquire. Yes, you can preserve. You can't support. You can rehabilitate or restore, but it says you can't create. Now, what does that mean? I mean, I think we could find, when I first saw this, I thought, well, ooh, initially that seems like, because then we're creating the monument, it's not historic itself. But then I saw that you were gonna use funds to clean up some of the others, which
sure.
easily falls under the category of restore, rehabilitate, preserve. And that's the whole point though, it's the community green, it's,
Well, if you read the need for the project, it says Hubbardston owes an account of honored war veterans and the placement of monuments on town common. Current state of the existing monument shows mold, staining, and disrepair, see Schedule A. It is time to restore and repair the monuments as maintenance has been done for many years. The Vietnam Memorial Monument will complement the other monuments and enhance our town common and honor those served. So
absolutely,
the word enhance
enhance.
is key to adding this monument
Yeah.
to the other monuments that
I mean-
are on the town.
And,
What do you think?
well, no, I think it does qualify because I do think that also, when I think of build new, I'm not thinking of like, I'm thinking of a building. Like, I don't think you can
You're
build
not-
a building to make it become
Okay.
historical.
All right.
Where I would say this would fall in under a structure or a vessel or, you know,
So
or an
it
artifact.
does say yes on that then?
It does, it says under historic restoration, you can, you know, gift a vessel or gift a artifact listed on the state registry. I mean, I don't consider this building something, I don't know. I don't consider building
It's not
something
like
new.
building a recreation.
Yeah,
building.
or.
You're not creating a building, you're not,
And when we were talking, yeah, well, I was gonna say, when we were talking before about the library project, I know it's a little different, but they were talking about the building, they said, well, you could do built-in shelves,
but you
but you couldn't buy a bookcase because it's gonna be permanent and you can't take it out and take it away. So no one's gonna pick this monument up and move it. It's,
No.
I know I saw it, but,
If you can pick up 15,000 pounds,
I mean, it's obviously gonna be permanent.
we're gonna build the base, the foundation. I've already got that laid out, and we're gonna have the highway department come up and dig a 2-foot trench, 4 feet deep,
drainage and stuff.
that we're
so
gonna
that-
fill with cement.
Oh, okay.
And then that's the foundation, it's 4 feet deep so the frost doesn't bother it. And then on top of that, we're gonna lay this piece of polished gray granite that says in the front, welcome home, and on the back it says, some gave
I'll give some gave all. I thought that was.
Thank you.
Yeah. that was-
And so that will be one, so the foundation will be ground level, and then you'll have a 1 foot high
That's what you were.
base.
Yeah.
And then on top of that will be the black granite monument. It's gonna be
So it's
beautiful.
gonna be standing 6 feet high.
And what we're
Yeah.
gonna do is, because I
Yeah.
got concerned with today, you don't know, you know what they're doing to monuments and things like that.
Yeah.
I made sure that all of these people would pin the monument to the base.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
We're
it's
gonna
not
drill,
glued on,
we're gonna
right?
drill, well,
It's like
it's gonna be epoxy.
Inserted something.
There's
right?
gonna be 4 pins
Mhm.
Yeah.
with 1 inch holes drilled in the monument and the base with a 3/4 inch stainless steel pin
Oh, no.
that gets epoxied in the bottom and the top, and then the whole monument gets epoxy when we lay it down.
Yeah.
You've really thought that one through.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have-
because
I have a-
that's great.
If you ever go to livingstonefoundation.com online, you'll see some pretty extensive granite. The word of God written in stone. And you should go over there if you have a chance at all, because it's a wonderful,
Look online at Livingstone, you'll be
Yeah.
very impressed with the
I've
granite.
never heard from them.
Yeah, I haven't, in fact, the church, we're gonna go there in a couple of weeks.
Is that a local business?
Do they have local business?
Thank
Do they
No,
have-
is it a local?
Oh, it's,
it's open
yeah.
dawn to dusk, nonprofit, no charge.
Oh, is it like a museum?
It's like,
We built a chapel there, and we've been doing, what we do is we go to granite pits, and we pick up stone that they can't use, but it'll have one good face on it.
Yeah.
So we bring that back and we engrave the Word of God in stone.
Oh.
And it's
Make
op-
connections.
open
then
to
with
all
places.
denominations.
Yeah, that's
You know, if you have an extra hour or an hour and a
kind
half
of like
and
the
that,
crosses, only it's huge granite monuments. They're
Yeah,
very
right in
impressive,
Livingston?
Yeah.
yeah, it's up near the Grandview Golf Course.
Oh, yeah,
You know
yeah,
that?
I knew it, yeah,
Right
my
down-
sister lives over on,
Yeah.
Right there, no, you can keep that.
Actually, we're gonna
Yeah.
go from the church the 22nd, is it, that we're
Yeah.
supposed to go, and you're welcome to come. See it tomorrow.
so you guys engraved all that on there?
Yeah,
That's.
that's a 30-foot high pillar
Mhm.
that's 5 feet around.
Yeah, you can see the people.
And those are all engraved and on the back side of the Ten Commandments. So that's my background. I've been working with them for 20 years.
Wow, okay.
And that's why I feel confident that we'll have a good monument.
Well, sorry to be a fly in the ointment, but just when I looked at the chart, I thought, oh, there must be a way to make this happen. So, I mean, we can interpret it how we feel is appropriate, can't we as a committee? Nobody's gonna come and say, no, you can't do that, are they?
No, that's someone,
I don't think so.
we just,
And then there comes to a point where common sense has to take over.
Yeah.
And say,
Exactly.
this is for the town common, and it's part of our community, and there's other,
That's the
yeah.
perfect
and
word
it
for it,
demonstrates the
common sense.
public benefit. It's-
Absolutely.
The project is within a historic district, I mean.
Yes, okay,
There's
there's lots
lots
of,
other
you know,
things that.
I
I
can't-
read all of your,
Yeah.
I read all of your qualifications before I wrote the project to make sure that our wording for the project would be similar to
well, that's why it
what is
surprised me
acceptable
when
by
I,
the
you
people.
know, but I see what you're saying. If you're putting up a new building, that's not historic, you know?
Right, yeah.
Right, so.
And you're actually enhancing the historic district.
Yes, you're adding to it, enhancement.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah,
All
'cause
right,
it's not me, but I
back to
just
the
want to
motion.
sure.
Did you
Oh,
start
yeah.
to make a
Did you have
motion?
the second one?
You didn't finish that, did you?
We need to look at money too, guys.
So this is just a motion to accept the application.
Oh, okay,
before me,
yeah, absolutely.
Which, I mean, I do see the argument there, but I think in the context of preserving the other monuments,
Yes, yeah.
you know, I think we can do that. So,
I mean, if we're all comfortable with it, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
We've honored all our other veterans that own the town common. To not honor the Vietnam veterans on our common is almost
It's disrespectful, kind of. It's about time, yep. So, do you want to grab it? I'll second it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept as a complete application Hubbardston restoration of the town common, existing war monuments, adding a tablet for Vietnam era,
With the amended amount, right?
Correct.
Should we add
for the
that?
amount of 30,000.
I second that.
All in favor?
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
It's a great project to work on, and I think it'll be a great addition to the town,
No, absolutely.
and a good use of CPA money. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm glad you guys went forward. I was supposed to be on that committee, I just, one more committee. Just can't do this.
We got it
But don't
moving,
think,
we got it moving pretty good,
Good
and
job.
you'll be seeing the foundation go in the next couple of weeks, and you'll see our fundraising efforts.
And you already have 17. I know you guys were at the fair. You had a
Right.
little booth or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And we even 5 bucks here for 8 months. I thought
Yeah.
that
Bill
was
Shea
nice.
and his
And we haven't really made a
Yeah.
concerted effort on the fundraising, but we're gonna start that now that tomorrow night, we're having a meeting, you talk about bad timing. We're gonna have a meeting tomorrow night to try and pick the vendor, so that if we had had the meeting before this meeting, we might have had the vendor and been able to know more, but, we will definitely, be in touch with your committee before the town meeting, so that if we need to amend it, we'll let you know what we think we'd like to amend it down to.
I would just hold off till town meeting. The fact that we have to have all the articles in by the 13th of September.
Okay.
So just, you know.
We just do it on the floor.
You can do it on the floor, and you know what, you can just wait and make sure no glitches happen. If it passes, no glitches happen after the end, because people turn back money after the project's done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's happened, so.
But if we could free it up for other things like the church building, that would be good for us to do. We would do that.
But the money would just go back with the next cycle, and we would have the money, and we'd know that, so, yeah.
Thank you for
But
all,
we appreciate that, too.
thank you for all volunteering on this committee.
Well, thank you all.
Good night.
Good night, thank you. How you doing over there? Good. You can sit down, can you not? Okay. There's a bubbler if anyone, oh, good stuff.
Someone want me to get the water?
No, but I would say bubbler, any cups either. I don't know.
No,
Wait,
I
I think
think
they're
they're in
I think they're in the cabinet.
You want some water?
If there is one there, I don't.
Anybody else?
Brought my own, thank you.
Yeah, you want some water?
Thanks.
Spicy dinner, and I like.
I like this little chart you got going here.
Alice, and this is for Steph. This is Phyllis.
Oh, yeah, this is the revised, I printed it out, but.
This is just updated. What are we talking about? The summary?
Susan, did you want some water?
Oh, yeah, actually, please, thank you.
What you Sandra?
I'm all set, I've got my own, thank you.
So this is what you sent us.
Okay, I sent,
This is the
Thank you very
general
much.
ledger.
I sent 3 sets of papers. The CP2 report, which is key,
Yeah.
because that closes the fiscal year June 30th, and it says this is what has happened and this is where it's gone. I also sent a copy of the revised schedule for the playground debt, which is due. We need to draft a warrant because it's due in December. So David is aware of that. And Sandy? Is that her name? You're Sanda, she's Sandy. Yeah.
Sandy.
She was very helpful in that. And then I also sent, this came along, I think, with the CP2 report, or CP1, whichever one it is. And it just shows you what she has in her ledger up to 6/30/2021. She hasn't, the most recent one that's on there is May though. She hasn't really
Yes.
caught everything up. And so, and I know you have an invoice sort of somewhere in between, but stuff like that in the blip of all this can certainly be addressed. And then this was very helpful. For the town, she sent it out to, this is
Oh, that
page
one.
6.
Okay, yeah, page 6, yeah.
It has the community preservation warrants of the year, which we all, just for refreshing our memory, it was Fieldstone Farm, 25 from open space, Fieldstone Farm, 50 from undesignated habitat, 20 from the housing bucket, not the amount that was already encumbered, the 50 grand, that's for other things.
Yeah.
And then the library first floor rehab and the brick rehab and the, she made a mistake on that though, and I called her and said, please change that because I know it's not the school roof
It's
deck.
the library.
It's the library deck. And just, somebody looking at it later, well, that doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So we really got to try to be really careful in our records because we know, but somebody else needs to be able to look at it and have the accurate picture. So with all of that, that's the information I worked from. And big kudos to my wonderful administrative assistant, my husband Rick. Because I can collect the data and I'm kind of getting a handle on how this actually works. It's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Because there's different accounts and different percentages and yada yada. And he is so good with Excel. So basically, it's all on one page.
Yeah, that looks great.
Which can be a little bit overwhelming, but I know the numbers that we're all most interested in is that last column on the top. That is the total, or is everybody with me then? It's the
The
13.
179?
Yeah, the 179. That is what we have to spend. Because the balance after we have funded 164,458 in the current warrant. In three different designations, and I have it all on the side here if you need the details. And then the encumbered amounts come to 102. So that's money in CPA, but it's all allocated. It's not, it's already, in essence, spent.
You're talking about the 179 is already spent or the
No,
162?
No, that's what's available.
That's what's available.
Yeah, the 102 and the 169, counting the admin, they're basically allocated. So that's when you, like, for example, I didn't know the issuance fee came out of the 50 grand for the parks, but that's where she took it out of. I thought she'd take it out of admin. I just assumed that, but whatever. But I mean, that still leaves you with, let's see,
The project.
48.9.
Yeah, but that project came under budget.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm
So-
trying to remember the 8,000, maybe $10,000.
Okay, well that might make a difference.
So that will make it a bit, because I did talk to Sandy, I'm like, this project, the total project is gonna come under. And I said, so where should we take it out of? And she said, well, we've already applied for the bonding for 150, so we might not use that whole 50, is I guess what I'm saying.
Oh, so some of
You know what
that.
I'm saying, because she already bonded the 150.
Yes, it's already
So it
done.
only made sense
Right.
to, whatever doesn't get spent will
Right.
just stay in the undesignated.
Right, so what that boils down to then, I mean, if there's any questions on these others, and what is very important too, now that we have 2 debts to pay off, is the box on the bottom right. Because that shows us our debt going out to the finishing of the last year of the playground. And we're more than halfway through the library roof. Because that 21,458 is already, that was in our warrants this year. So we only have 2 more payments on the roof, and we'll be paying the first of 5 on the rainbow, with a total of 33,141.25. And he's gonna wrap it all into the same warrant because it's 2 interest payments. If you look at that sheet that I
Yeah.
sent, 2 interest payments with the principal. So he's gonna just put it all in the same warrant, and it's not like you can reject it because we owe it. So people obviously, but they just, it's on a warrant to be voted.
And it's so funny because they never used to do it that way.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, no, I know,
it's
they do
precedent
now,
to
they
me.
do now, yeah.
Maybe it just keeps it in your forefront,
Yeah.
but it seems like once you've agreed to it, it's done.
Why shouldn't the administrative people take care of it?
Sort of, yeah, that's kind of.
So why don't we talk first about the small project, the smaller project, and decide.
Which
where-
was 17 and now it's 30.
No, it's 30, yeah.
Yeah.
To decide where it is, and actually just to backtrack just for a minute. So, monies have already gone out for Fieldstone,
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
But that's, so I've
That's
been,
all.
I've been
reflected.
talking to the woman from Habitat, Carol from Habitat, because she needed a little more information.
Mhm.
So, and she said they're not gonna, request their money till late fall. She said.
Right, but it will be.
It
right?
will be there, but I'm just saying, so some of this money hasn't happened, the library hasn't done anything, but the only money that's really, we put in to pay out would be for the Fieldstone.
Right,
From-
so, but that's reflected down there, but it's also already deducted, so the monies that are left, if, for example, if we decided for the monument, we wanted to use 30 from the historic, we could do it cash. Because we have 32,713, and that's what I was trying to gently say to the folks from the church, because that's a lot of money. And if she had come to us maybe like last year, we would have felt a little more flush. But yes, Fieldstone Farm took a lot, 50 and 25. We've done 50 for the, these big chunks. For example, the library chunk again started off being more like, I don't know, was it 20 something? And now it's 48. So those
Yeah.
big chunks, and they're good projects, and I don't regret it at all, but you keep chunking away at it
Yeah,
and it starts to
then it's not gonna
disappear.
have any money, yeah, exactly.
Right, so we could do the,
Can I
Yes.
ask another question?
sure,
So we usually get our money in November. So
Yes.
does this reflect the money we're going to be getting?
all right, that's underneath on the estimated fiscal year 22 state match 32.3. It's gonna be 22, it's right there.
Down here?
Yeah.
Oh, down here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because we tried to include
Right
all
underneath.
the,
Right underneath, estimated.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then it's got a little number next to it.
22, that would be the state match, together with what the town brings in, correct?
So that would be
Or that's just the
another,
state match, yeah.
yeah, that would be another what? What's, basically 22.2, and we'd have to put each 10% in each bucket, 5% in admin, and then the larger amount would go into 12,000 or so, right? Am I doing the math right? Would go back into undesignated.
So, but what about
You know what though?
what about the money the town collects? When does that go into?
Yeah, 'cause it
Fund?
says it's a
That-
match.
I thought it went in October as well. I thought that's when they posted it.
Well,
I don't, I
that's a
didn't
good
know.
question, because if you all recall, and I brought the sheet because I was just so like, what?
Yeah, I brought everything from the last time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That we were, going along with our, we should pat ourselves on the back because all of those monies that were kind of sitting there from projects that didn't get used up were put back into the buckets.
Yeah.
So that helped us get through that bunch of warrants because that was like $70,000.
Yeah.
So at one point, if you recall, we had undesignated of 144. This was back in January, and then Kelly said 144, and if we add the library, we get to 182.8. Does anybody kind of remember those numbers? Because I can make copies if you
No,
want.
that's fine.
Right.
That's right.
And so I was thinking, okay, yeah, we have 28 in open space, 22 in historic now because we're not in the negative, because we added back 35.4, remember? From the church project. Housing is now at 40, undesignated was 182, and 8. And then she said the next thing in March, mid-March, and said, open space is 28, historic, we still hadn't voted to get that hold yet. Community housing, 45.66, and now undesignated is 257.670. Does anybody remember me saying, hey guys, guess what?
I don't remember that.
Because, and then I texted her and I said, what happened? And she said, that's tax revenue to date.
Yes.
It was 74 something. But yet, on the CP1 form, she only said 68. I mean, it's in the neighborhood, maybe there were some abatements that she didn't deduct, I don't know. But so that happens, you can't, in other words, if you read, and it's complicated, like I said, Let's see, oh no, that's not the one.
It looks like at the top here, the summary of the
Yeah.
CPA funds, there's something that says fiscal year 2022 starting balance as of 7/1/2022.
And that should be 21.
No, was
No.
that done to looking ahead? It's telling us you guys have already allocated money.
I think he was thinking fiscal year.
The fiscal year 22 began July 1st.
Oh, so it's
Of this
so
year.
it's like,
It will be, yes, right,
Of this
exactly.
year, yeah.
That's the, yes, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's why it said
So,
that should be 2021.
That reflects,
Yeah.
okay, the first column was where we were, and then all of a sudden we had this infusion of tax revenue to date, like 74,000, which brought that to 285, and I almost fell off my chair, because I thought, whoa.
yeah.
But that's a little deceiving, because that amount needs to be divided into the buckets.
Buckets, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can't do that until we vote. And that's why all of a sudden on July 1st, this reflects these new amounts into the buckets. So this is real.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then after all those
Go ahead.
payments,
Right. And then, because I said, I know Fieldstone Farm has gone through, because, it closed and it's all set and she needs the money now. So I said, well, we need to know what we really have. So we worked on the assumption that all of these will come through. And so the last column that you see is what is really available.
Right
what
now, right now.
we're voting on right now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So,
what we just need to-
So you say, oh, it's almost 200,000, but it's split into 13,
Yes,
32, and
right.
30. And if you can't take 100,000 out of 98. That's why I said at some point, well, gee, if we wait for the next cycle, we're gonna get another it's approximately the same amount next year. Taxes aren't gonna go down, right? So we'll get another approximately 65 and maybe 10, 10, 10, and so forth. So that would make those accounts much healthier, but they're up against it because they can only hold that price till January.
Till January,
On the
yeah.
other hand, people want business. I mean, I don't know how busy these people are. And I don't know, maybe they could extend it. We don't know,
They might.
Well, if they could bond it.
We'll see.
Well,
That's
so I
the
think,
thing.
I think that was a good thing that you said, like, can we write the article saying this is contingent on us getting
Getting
bonded?
bonding for over 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do we feel we could do 2020, add the 2020, add $20,000 to our existing debt?
Oh, and
Because our
just,
debt right now is 52, roughly. If we add that another 20, that's gonna be 72.
well, our total
Yeah.
debt right now, without, I
I'm
think.
talking about payments,
Right.
based on the library and the
Right.
playground.
Remember, there were going to be 3 years of overlap, but
Yeah.
we've already paid both of those. Because that number up there reflects that the 33 has been already deducted. So we're
33,
looking-
141.
Yes,
Yeah, oh,
right.
okay, yeah.
So-
Even though it has.
So
oh, yes.
we're all set on
So
that.
this monument can't fit under open space?
No, I think
It's
historic.
gonna have to go under historic, yeah,
Yeah.
which is, there's 32, almost 33
But
in
it's,
there.
isn't the town common part of like open
That's
space?
that big chunk of land that we don't have.
Recreation?
Yeah, but we don't have enough money there
Biggest
anyway.
common land.
Well, not for all of it, but if you took some out of historic and some out of designated, some out of open space. I don't
Or
understand
maybe
why,
we could do 15.
why it's
15.
not, open space isn't just like woods. Isn't
Yeah.
open space like Parks and Rec? Isn't
Yeah,
our town common
is.
part of that?
it is.
Yeah.
And
But
a
I
monument?
think we're pushing it to say create. I think the
Too much
closest thing
further.
is history, but if you want to make a strong case for that, I suppose we could.
Well, I
Because-
mean, I just think that it's a really important thing to do.
What if
Oh,
we,
yeah,
we
I
could
mean, what if we
Make
split
a
it?
case to find money from somewhere.
But you-
I mean, I want to, that's just.
What if we did 15 from historic and 15 from an index and thing? You know what I'm saying? And then that way it would still leave money in the historic account.
So it's not emptied,
So
empty.
it's empty, and then it would still leave some good money in
Yeah.
the undesignated.
And that still gets them the 30 they need,
Yeah,
right?
And knowing them, I bet you they're not.
They're gonna do fine, aren't they? That-
he's a
That's
good
Dolores, you know that, right? That's what she's on.
I mean, maybe not, but they're.
You're so quiet,
They're good
you know,
fundraisers.
it's exciting when people work together with the goal that everybody's interested in,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Guess
And
what?
actually, I think if they did, honestly, I think if they did sort of like the fundraising for the Millennium Park, you know, do a name for $50 or maybe $100, I think they get
They
more
get
people.
more
I think he
people,
said
yeah.
300 and I'm thinking, that's,
Yeah, I know, I was like, oh, I'd love to sponsor them.
not
I'd
very
sponsor
well.
300.
yeah, but they raise a lot of money, $50 a bird kind of a thing, you know? But,
It's a little more involved, but
So
it's
that's
worth
it.
it.
yeah. they-
That's an easy one to find, but how do we find the money for the church?
Okay, so I think I heard 15, to split it so that it doesn't totally deplete historic. 15 from historic would leave approximately, what, 17?
Yeah, 17, yeah.
Yeah. And then 15 from undesignated would leave us with what, 80 something?
83, yeah.
Yeah. So that's an idea, that gets that one accomplished. We'd have to write up a warrant though. I think it's easier to have the warrant, don't you think, instead of have to do it on the floor?
Yes, absolutely, no, we have to still put it in.
Oh,
We
okay.
have to still put it
Oh,
in.
if you
He
can
can
amend it.
just, if you're gonna amend it, you have to only amend your funds
Okay,
down.
because I do want to contact David soon to just double check that the one for the playground is in the right, because you're right, there's a deadline of mid-September.
Yeah, so kind of 15,
Right.
yeah.
So that takes care of their requests, but then the church, because why do you think it goes into open space? I mean, we could explore that option for the, no.
Church, I was talking about the monument.
Yeah, right.
And I was just trying to put it into open
Yeah,
space
right.
to open up more money for
Yeah,
the,
right.
for the church, so we could somehow cover both.
Well, for the church, if it could be bonded over 5 years, then it's 100,000 they're asking, so it's 20,000 principal each year. Right, plus I don't know what the interest
Yeah.
rate is, but.
Well, if you look at the
pretty good.
library, it started out at like, I don't know, 22 something, and now the last one will be 24.86.
Yeah.
But, as we just saw with the playground, which was just done in, when was it?
It's
End
the
of-
bonding June.
Yeah, June.
Yeah.
I mean, the interest rate was 2.1, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we,
So maybe this is a good time, well, until like all hell breaks loose, who knows?
the interest rate is gonna go up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, and
And it's
also,
not fixed, right? It floats always on these bonds.
no, I think
It is.
it's.
Our amount
It
to
is
pay
fixed.
back is fixed.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
The rate floated until it settled in,
Mhm.
but
Okay.
yeah, it settled into our advantage, so I wasn't gonna complain. I wasn't
Yeah.
even aware of it until,
I did,
The numbers
Sandy had
represent-
told me a while back, she was like, oh, we got a better rate than.
and so I'm
but I didn't
thrilled,
even
I'm
think-
thrilled,
yeah,
that's great.
I didn't think to tell you, that's all.
Oh, no, I mean, it's,
What
So,
was the rate to pay back?
Well, that's what they're saying, for
It's
the playground
like
was
2
only
right now,
2
yeah.
2.1, that was back in June.
yeah.
So if you could bond it over 5 years, you'd have 20,000 plus, I don't know, another 5,000 a year in interest, not even, no, that'd be a lot less than that.
It would
just
be.
be.
What about if we did 20 out of undesignated and then tried to bond the 80, no?
You're bringing that undesignated down to about 50 grand.
I know.
You know, that's a.
On the
I
other
think-
hand, the point could be made, it does us no good sitting there, except that's not true, because
That's
we
not
do
true.
get interest.
Yeah.
But
So-
the interest is on those big amounts that are encumbered that just sit there.
And it also helps you, I think, feel comfortable about bonding, into, borrowing money into the future when you know you're sitting on a kind of a pot of money.
Right.
So my other thinking is, so if the church does pass and they do what they need to do, they may not even have to borrow the money until next year. Because I know that even this year, other than paying the amount of interest, not the interest, yeah, what you pay,
Issuance
interest on the
fee?
loan? Yeah, the issuance fee, that, like, she's like, oh yeah, the payments, you never really pay them till like April of the following year. You make your first payment.
Right, but
So-
you need to, but, if.
No, but I was saying that gives us time to get more money
Right.
back into the coffers.
That's true.
So even if we did say it's contingent on bonding for 5 years, that whole first payment wouldn't even be for like a year from now.
That's true.
It's kind of what I'm thinking, because we're kind of
And
late
at
there
that
already.
point, we'd be almost done with the library.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so
So
it would only overlap maybe 2
If you look
years,
at
not
the chart,
3.
fiscal year '24, the library's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it here. So So the cash up front out of the 100 versus the amount bonded, where would you break that?
I wouldn't put any up front. I would just bond the whole thing. That's what I would do.
Well, because they're either gonna bond it or they're not, right?
Yeah.
Because of it's church. It's either gonna, I highly doubt they're gonna say, well, yeah, we'll bond it if it's less.
Yeah,
It's,
Okay,
yeah.
Oh, I just thought it just,
so
I
what
think the
she's
decision
saying,
is
you bond
based
the
on how
whole
much.
thing and that first $20,000 payment isn't gonna be due until,
But like, if
next
we
fiscal
could
year.
even get the bonding,
Yeah.
okay, but when somebody goes to the finance committee to say, hey, we have 102 and 270, a total of 271 that's sitting there getting interest until somebody uses it. And we have 179 to use, but we have $222, $2,000 in debt. Except that's not true because the library and those two would be out of there at that point. Do you see what I'm saying? I think Rick didn't deduct the 33 yet out of the 222. So, but I'm just saying, that seems like a lot of debt if you add another 100 onto 222.
Well, I do agree, but at the same time, what I look at is, but there's enough money, if we had to deplete everything, we could pay everything off. Okay? And the other
What do you
thing,
mean? What do you
so
mean?
in other words, we have enough money, even let's say, I don't know, the world went upside down like it did last year, right? So I'm just saying, we would have enough money to pay.
that happening again.
Yeah, I mean, to pay that debt off, is the 100,000, that if it doesn't get
Over
bonded.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean for the church? The
Yeah,
100,000?
and the
How
other-
do we do that?
Well,
That's
and
it.
the other thing you need to remember is once it's been approved, you have to keep CPA going to cover all those debts into the future.
That's a plus because they couldn't get rid of it because it has to stay there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's not the reason for doing something, but it's a corollary.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, so it's not like, oh, you'd be surprised, people have, there's been discussion in towns of people wanting to get rid of CPA.
And so if something's always got to be taken care of, you have to have somebody that takes care of it, right? But that's why I was thinking some cash, and then the bonded amount isn't that much, that's all. Because if I'm not a financial person, which is the beauty of it, I'm just Joe Citizen, and Joe Citizen should be able to look at this, Josephine Citizen, whatever, and say, is that good management? I'm just asking a question. I definitely want the church. I drive by it all the time and think, how can we get this, could we have a volunteer thing? But, yeah, and it sounds like, you're sure we have no problem with you said the clapboards are fine.
the
So,
clapboard, the material looks really nice, it's too bad it isn't here. I know you can do that because I reviewed those rules
okay.
in
Then
we read at our
we-
church and.
We
and I
have
said,
to find a way to get it done.
Amen.
Well, I don't mean to play the devil's advocate, I think a number of people in
please do.
town don't want to put the money for that church.
Oh,
Because it hasn't passed twice. I think we need to be positive, but
Guys,
that's
she is
kind of-
raising a very valid point that needs to be addressed. Would you mind repeating?
No, I'm just saying, I think it's a hard sell for you, the town, I think the church needs to work really hard to sell it. It's been turned down twice, and I think that a lot of people don't think it belongs to the town. That's been a kind of an
Yes.
issue, that people like, it's a privately owned building.
Yeah.
And people like, why would we put the money? So I think they're gonna have a hard sell, not that I wouldn't like to see it done, I just don't use this money and have that taken
Yeah.
care of. Trying to convince the rest of the town.
If the deed that Chris is holding in her safe says that
Her safe at home,
safe
which
at home.
is obviously fireproof, I hope.
it's saying it belongs to the
To the
town.
to the congregation.
To the
I
congregation.
thought was my
Well, that's
understanding.
right.
That's exactly because.
So that's the whole thing, so if you sell the building now after we put the $100,000,
Yeah.
who's getting the money? The 12 members who go to the church? That's what the people are gonna think.
Think like a lawyer.
It won't be the
Oh.
12 members, it ceases to be used as a church. Somebody goes back and tries to, it's a right of revoke. It goes back to the people that gave the land for the church.
So it
Which would
always has to be a
cost you
church.
probably
Yeah.
50,000 to
Probably
figure out
does.
who those people are, you know? But that's not what usually happens. What usually happens is you go, if a congregation is, dissolved and can't go forward, they go file what's called a cypre request, which, to the courts, which has find another charity that'll take it that's comparable. Or they go with the plan,
Yeah.
and they ask permission to do that. And so then it morphs into another religious, church. It has, whatever the use was, it has to kind of fit that.
Well,
Yeah.
Williamsville Chapel is an interesting example because it was sold for $1 to the Historical Society.
Right.
So, but does that mean the society or the town? Because the society pretty much
Well,
maintains.
maybe that building's deed was different. Maybe it wasn't
Yeah, they
supposed
didn't
to
have a
always
right
be
of
a church.
reverter in it. They
This
didn't have,
one's-
they didn't have a saying in their deed that says it goes, reverts back to the family.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but I'm just giving an example that it's now used as the Historical Society, and a few weddings actually take place there, even though they don't have the facilities you would expect.
Pies and jelly and
Yeah,
things,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and so, because 12 people is not a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
know,
people
it
to
is not.
sustain, and I hate to say it, as I get older, I realize, that there aren't that many
interesting.
young people going to Sturbridge
Right.
Village or
Right.
anywhere
Yeah,
else.
yeah,
Yeah, so.
It's interesting, it's different people every week. Last week it was Lucy and Tom Everett. It varies, it can be
Okay.
10 people.
I'm sensing, are you part of that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, I didn't know that.
Oh, I live on High Street and I
Oh,
used
yes,
to go
right up
there
right.
years
As a
ago.
kid, you mean, or?
I used to go
Yeah.
there when Clint Goddard
Okay.
was the minister there.
So-
But anyway, so I was on a mission to see what I could do to get it fixed. So I joined the church to see what the people were all about. And I joined this so I could see where the money comes from. So anyway, I'm just
And
here
that's how
quiet.
things get done, though.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and I can't believe somebody doesn't want to have that
They're
fixed.
very sincere, Scott Bitchkoff, he has a business where he repairs mobile trucks on the road, and he's a very sincere person. He's I don't know
Well,
what you hear,
he's the guy that you're supposed to bless the corners of the town, and once a year, it's like the perambulation where you go around and do the edges, the perimeter of the town. Yeah, that's something.
Never heard of
Yeah,
that.
Joyce was talking about that once, but, and we happened to be at our mailbox, and this guy is up there, and he said, is this because we're right on the Hubbardston Templeton line, and he was trying to find the other marker, which is somewhere on the other side of the Burnchard Pond,
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
swamp or something, you know where it is?
Yeah.
And so he said, well, may I bless you? And we said, okay. Which was fine, it was just kind of an unusual encounter. But it seemed to me like it was a family, and I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say. If we did that, then they would have to do something about picking up the stuff that's around there. Because parking, I'm sure, is an issue there, because there's nowhere to park.
Well, yeah, you're right.
On
It is.
Sundays, you could go to GFA, and I'm sure I'm guessing they don't mind.
No, they kind of park along Williamsville Road and
Okay.
in different
Yeah, but-
areas, yeah.
It looks kind of sloppy with a bunch of,
Well, there's no place,
yeah, so I don't know.
yeah.
And he's kind of a caretaker, I guess.
Yes, yeah, he lives there, yeah.
So, there's a lot of pieces that some people could object to, and I think they might.
I think it's a curiosity. People wonder really more
Yeah, what's
about it. Yeah.
Good.
Well, why don't we move back to funding it?
Okay.
Like, do we feel we have the funds to do it? How do we want to write the article? Like, I mean, I guess that's something we have to decide and vote on. Because we did vote on the memorial, right? Okay, so now we have to decide.
We
on the church.
accepted the proposal
Yes.
with the amended
No,
amount, right?
No, but then we
We're gonna-
voted on the funding of it, right?
Are we gonna vote on this contingent on bondage?
I think we have to. I mean, I personally feel we have to, but
And if that were the case and it got passed and we could afford it, it could be bonded.
if it could be bonded, unless people don't feel that way.
I just am curious if a financial person looked at that 222, 357, and then we're adding another 100 onto it. That's why if we did a little bit of cash, that amount wouldn't be as much. But then obviously undesignated would be, but you know what, we can't use it anyway, because to use that, it would have to be on a warrant, which pushes it to next June. Which would work if they could get us a longer time on their quote.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. 100,000 is a lot it's another third debt, because that would be 322. Well, yeah, it'd be a little bit less because we'd be another year into both of those. And we have to know that we have money for those, you see, that's the trouble. And if we take it out of, well, what did we say, 15 historic and 15 undesignated, we're gonna put back in approximately 10 grand when the next cycle, but see, the next cycle doesn't really come until the next town warrant, next town meeting. We do get that state match, yes, but that's only $22, 22,000. And I'm thinking, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just thinking it's nothing that says we feel that it's a good project, but we want to put it off till next June. I mean, it's nothing that says we can. No, we don't feel we have the funding for it. This,
In the
this,
meantime, can you see if you could get the bond?
Well, what do we have to lose,
You
right?
know,
Well,
just
I
to
mean-
see if you could.
well, we have to vote whether we, because you're the one who keeps saying, but a financial person keeps saying another 20,000, so you obviously don't feel like that's a good idea right now.
I don't know, if I'm looking at my own budget, I wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I would feel like, wait a minute, I have to pay this off, and I'm very disciplined.
Well,
that way.
but that's fine. I mean, that's fine.
But if it's the way to get it done, it does you no good
Well,
sitting.
why don't we, okay, so do we want to decide to wait till we hear back from council, meet maybe in 2 weeks, we'll get the answer from council, like, about getting the bonding, and really, that's gonna answer our question. Because then we'll have to say, we'll have to decide or vote, do we have enough money to pay it in full?
Which,
Oh,
if we
You
wait,
know what I'm saying?
Which-
Because we should, I just don't have an answer from them, whether they're gonna be able to get bonding for it,
that
that's all.
sounds like a good idea. And then we might be able to mull over some other ideas and maybe some other sources. I know
Because it's
that's a
all
long shot.
contingent on that.
On
too, so-
that.
And the truth is, if they could extend that deal with that company or
Mhm.
something similar, we would feel a whole, because we'd have another 65,000 in undesignated then, and we almost could do it cash.
Or we could maybe do 50 and only,
Yeah.
or 30, whatever, we'd have a little more money in there.
Well, we'd also have more money in historic too.
Well, then also, the price of it might go up, so they, I
Right,
guess, 900,000 might turn into.
But then we also
200,000.
still need to fund 50,000 for the library debt and the playground debt. 53,000. No, 54,000, because it's 2972 is the next one, right?
Yeah, so we could, I mean, and you know, I understand the price is gonna go up, and think about it, how much is that price gonna go up?
Yeah, no, I
I
know.
mean, it might go up $5,000.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I don't know, we don't know, it might be 5 cents, it might be 10 cents. We don't really know. Or they might, you know, extend it.
Well, so what about exploring, let's meet in 2 weeks, does that sound? So we could at least give it another shot after we've had a chance to think about it? What?
Maybe we'll have an answer.
And let's push council on that,
Yeah.
because,
At least we'll know where we
Well,
stand.
I'm not calling council, I can only ask Dave, I followed up again, I sent them 2 emails, I mean.
well, maybe if they got emails from everybody on the committee.
Well, I just don't know, maybe he was on vacation last week, and
Yeah, you
I
never know.
hate to say it, but no one works on Mondays and Friday.
I
mean,
know.
You know, so it's like, nothing gets done until Tuesday or Wednesday.
You have to time it
Yeah,
just
you have to
right.
time it just right, and I was away last week, so I sent it. and I
So do we
left.
wanna set a date and time for the next meeting?
Yeah, that probably makes sense. What about, we have an open space on the 25th.
I'd rather do it after Labor Day.
Okay.
Because
Okay, so
I mean,
it's
even if we
into
did it like the
September.
7th, then we could get everything in for
Yeah.
the
Yes,
13th.
right, that still gives us a week, and we could have it set to go if we needed
Yes.
it. How about that?
So maybe we could meet like on the 8th.
On the 8th, guys?
What day is week?
That's a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay.
So September 8th?
Yeah,
What time?
and 7 works for me if it works for everyone else.
Here, or you wanna try to do?
I'm gonna try to get the senior center, I just couldn't get it.
It's just
this
a
time,
little
and I
bit
know we
more
were
room,
meeting,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here, again, well, you don't know.
We don't know
Okay.
yet, well,
We'll put it, when you
on
put
the
it
8th,
in.
that's 7.
Figure it out when we get in the parking lot.
Okay.
Very nice.
I just noticed Ryan looking at it, so
I know. Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
oh, yeah, you're ready to take off.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, lovely.